right, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Yes, I want to welcome everyone here this evening. It's always good to see good crowds at the beginning of the meeting, and you're welcome to stay through the remainder of the entire meeting if you'd like to, but we understand with the kids and stuff, you need to get back home and get right to that homework, right, kids? I bet. But we also want to give this opportunity if someone would like to make a comment. You've had a chance to fill out one of these requests to share in front of the board. We had one this evening. That's for our president of the Federation and Teachers Federation. That'd be Robert Duke. If you want to come at this time, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Schneeman, for allowing me to speak. All the members of the Health Insurance Committee are here with me as well. As a representative of the members of the Blue Ridge Federation, I would like to address the school board in reference to health insurance. As stated by our current contract, the Insurance Committee recently met to discuss our health insurance goals. At the time, we felt this was a partnership intended to solve district insurance issues. After the Insurance Committee narrowed down the options to our current Iermp, also known as Health Alliance, and Blue Cross Blue Shield plans, the union member representatives held meetings to discuss the two options with our members. Each representative took the opinions of their members back to the Insurance Committee. Each union representative spoke as to what the respective buildings wanted. Our members overwhelmingly wished to switch from Iermp to Blue Cross Blue Shield. Around 90% of all the members stated that they wanted to move to Blue Cross Blue Shield. The Insurance Committee then voted. Every union representative voted for Blue Cross Blue Shield, as the majority of our members wanted. Each administrator voted to stay with Iermp. This choice will be more expensive for every member except those that have family coverage. The majority of us do not want to pay $37 more for insurance for an insurance company with a much smaller network, and feel the administration did not take this into consideration. Furthermore, each administrator who has family coverage does not have to pay anything. So the reason they all voted for Iermp is unknown, especially when the majority of our members have wanted Blue Cross Blue Shield for years now. We, the Blue Ridge Federation Insurance Committee members, understand that a tie vote in the Insurance Committee will continue the current plan. We come to the table representing the voices of over 100 members and took seriously our responsibility to get their input and listen to their wants. So we were disappointed with the way the administrators voted, and we feel that they did not listen to all the voices in their own building. We urge the board to think long and hard why the system is structured in such a way. Is it to provide the best possible insurance option to the vast majority of our workforce? Or is it to satisfy the needs of a few at the expense of the majority? And as I'm ending here, I just want to leave you with one question. How does the 90% become important enough to have their voices heard? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Just making some notes here. And we know that we have here this evening also, as we do every month, time to share how we have some exemplary nights, student-wise and staff here in the district. And we have several students here this evening. And when I do call your name, I'd like for you to come forward. And tonight we recognize these students because others, they have shown through their skills, their abilities, their work ethic, they're being nice and just showing all around positive towards their, not only towards their other students around them, but also with their teachers and the staff. And we have with us here this evening in grade kindergarten would be Levi Holstein. and do forgive me for mispronunciations. First grade, Kane Colby. You can turn around. You can turn around. Thank you. Hey. We have second grade, Riker Watterson. I'm sorry he's not here, but he got an applause virtually. And third grade is Taylor McLean and Alyssa Greider. Also give a handshake virtually for fifth grader Olivia Jones. And likewise for sixth grader Presley Wishman. We have here a seventh grader, Erilyn Johnson. Virtual shout out to eighth grader Shelby Wishman. And then, let's see here, we have the Blue Ridge High School. Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss Tucker Little? Fourth grade? He's here. Sorry about that, Tucker. And he's got a tie on tonight. Great. All right. And in Blue Ridge High School, we have Sarah Whitehouse and Jamie Winsurski. So you remain standing up here, and we'll get a group photo. All right, thank you very much. You may be seated. Now, of course, they couldn't be exemplary knights if we didn't have exemplary staff people as well. And so we'd like to recognize some other people, and we do appreciate, because we understand that with everything that's been going on lately, that the staff, administrators in our district have been doing they've been wearing so many different hats lately. We thank you again, and Rob, it's good to have you here this evening. You're here even on board meetings when you don't have something to share as well, but we appreciate your leadership there. We also appreciate, we just had our strategic planning meeting this past Saturday, and we had a good turnout and representation from the staff, administrators from the district, and we really appreciated all the input that we received because of that. Even our Abe district leader, Patrick, who was here leading that meeting and moderating that, he even had said that he was really impressed with the attendance from the staff here from the school, but also with the input that they were giving towards that. So again, we thank you. You're all exemplary in our eyes, okay? But we have a couple special people here this evening, and from the Schneider building, we have Mary Russell. You can come up. And we need to give a virtual shout out to the Blue Ridge Intermediate Junior High School, Shawana Colrose. Couldn't be here. And from the Blue Ridge High School, we have Jill Hardesty. Thank you again. And we'll get a picture of you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, they already left. But we are going to go ahead, and we have another presentation here. I think Angela Mitchell and Kelly Soliday are going to come and give us a presentation about the Title I work going on in the district.
We just wanted to give a brief presentation tonight to highlight our Title I program for Schneider with Angela Mitchell, and then for Blue Ridge Intermediate and Junior High School, and I'm Kelly Soliday.
First off, we wanted to start by explaining a little bit what our program is, because I think there's a lot of people that don't understand what we do. And so what we do is the foundation of everything that we do. Starts with RTI, which is called Response to Intervention. And that's just making sure that all of our students across grade levels from kindergarten through 6th, for us, are all successful. So no matter what kind of learners that they are or where they come from, we want to make sure that they're all successful. And we do that by providing the best instruction that we have available to specially meet their individual needs. So we do that by screening, benchmark testing 3 times a year, and then if they would identify that they need some extra help or some different kind of instruction, then we get them into our program, where then we progress monitor them at least twice a month and more along the lines of 4 times a month.
So Angela just led right into our benchmark testing, which she just mentioned occurs 3 times a year. We do that in September, January, and then in May. All students through our Title I program, K through 8th, are evaluated through the benchmark testing. Students are tested using our Ames Web Plus testing platform, and then the students are then grouped for tiered interventions, and those groups are based on an analysis of those scores. We also use teacher input and our BAS testing that we do with our Fontes and Pinnell program.
So I serve Schneider Elementary, and it's kindergarten through 3rd, so we don't do the pre-K students. And it's in reading and in math. There are 25 minutes every day. The students are pulled so they don't miss any core instruction. So our instruction is in addition to the core learning that happens in the general classroom. The progress monitoring that we do is just testing every week. We look at that data. We see the gains that they're making or not making, and if they're not making the gains that we would like to see, then we'll switch something up in our intervention. That could be curriculum, it could be adding something, or it could be just changing up the way we do it, like the strategies and the skills. This year I serve with my aide, Ms. Patrick. We serve 151 students.
Okay, and then at Blue Ridge Intermediate and Junior High, I serve the 4th through 6th grade, and then I assist in anything that 7th and 8th grade needs. I provide math and reading intervention services, and we do a block schedule over there. So each grade level receives 25 to 30 minutes of reading and 25 to 30 minutes of math intervention each day. And during that time, there is Title I intervention going on. There's also any special education services happening, and each classroom teacher also has a group. So all students are receiving interventions during that time, and they all flow from math to reading and vice versa, depending on their blocks. So we do bi-weekly progress monitoring over at our building, unless we find a need for weekly, but we try to just do bi-weekly at that age. The total students served are there for 2021 and 21 and 22. So far to date, we have 31 in math and 14 in reading this year.
So the benchmark testing that we do, which is 3 times a year, consists of different things that would be a flag for them. In the earlier grades, it has to do with letter naming, letter identification, and number naming and number identification. And as they get older, so my 2nd and 3rd graders basically do the same test, except for one of them, that they do over in Kelly's building. So the kids, once they get into 2nd grade and able to do the testing, it looks the same no matter what building they're in. And so for reading, you look at the oral reading fluency and the reading comprehension, and then Kelly and and vocabulary. And then when they get to Mansfield, that's when they include the silent reading fluency as well.
All right, and then our Ames Web Plus math composite benchmark testing includes, now Angela does the number naming fluency and the quantitative total fluency over in her building. And then we do concepts and applications, mental computation fluency, number comparison fluency triads, and the number sense fluency. Those are all combined to make that composite score that we then use and can break down to do our intervention groups.
Okay, the next one, there's a lot of words to say. What we have is we have our students broken down into 3 tiers. The first tier is tier 1, and that is every student. So that's the core instruction that you get in the general classroom, that all teachers across grade levels are doing the same. That's what our curriculum coordinator comes into play, and our principals. We get together and make sure that it's nice and fluid between each grade level. And sometimes that just doesn't reach all of the students. So those students that are identified usually through our testing, we pull them into a tier 2 intervention, which is daily, and you can have no more than 5 students in that group, and they get individualized as much as you can with 5 students in there, but it's more at their level, and you work on things that are specific to them. And if that still isn't working, then we would put them in a tier 3, which is an additional intervention on top of that. And those are students that are usually between the below the 10th percentile when comparing to their peers nationally. And that is 3 students or fewer, and you really look at where they're struggling, and you hit that deficit in that instruction.
So we just wanted to highlight what are the benefits of the response to intervention. As you can see on our little pyramid chart there, the majority of our students are in the tier 1, and then we have a select few in the tier 2, and then even smaller group in the tier 3. We just wanted to highlight that students benefit most from our ability to identify the needs early and to intervene quickly. Students no longer wait to fail in order to access intervention services, as is often seen in traditional service delivery models. Within our RTI framework, teachers use regularly collected assessment data to monitor the student's progress and are able to intervene at the earliest indication of the need. Because of this proactive and preventative approach, a student receives help promptly within the general education setting and when problems are most easily remediated.
So to follow up on that, that would be why my numbers at Schneider are significantly higher than those in Mansfield. If we get them in kindergarten and first, research shows, data shows, the least likely that they're going to need it as they move on. So 3rd grade is really that crucial point that if they're not at grade level by then, it's really difficult to get them up to grade level. So we try really hard, especially in kindergarten and first half of 2nd grade, to really push them to get them where they need to be. We also wanted to point out that there is a direct correlation between home and school with our student success. So if we have parents that are involved with their students' education, and if we have our teachers reaching out to our parents in the community, that will drastically improve how the students are performing in school.
Okay, and then the goal of our RTI framework is to provide the type of instruction and educational support that each student needs to be successful in the general education classroom. So for our students to continue, for students who continue to struggle, evidence-based interventions are provided and adjusted according to data collected on their progress, monitoring the responsiveness to the intervention. So while an RTI framework reduces the overall need for special education services through increased instructional precision, a referral for special education services may result when a student demonstrates low responsiveness to that intervention. So we just always want to keep everything in check, keep monitoring our students, and keep making sure that we're teaching what we need to help them succeed. And if that isn't working and we have tried everything possible, then we know that we can follow further steps in our buildings, and we have a support system, our MTSS student support system that we can go to, and they can help us follow the next steps in order to get our students successful and get them the best help possible. And we have Tri-County Special Education Service and the Blue Ridge staff that helps us whenever we have and need more data reviewed and need more information on a student.
I'd like to add to that a little bit. I've had lots of questions over the years that parents and community members feel that once they get into the title program, that means they're heading to the special education route, and that is actually the opposite of what our program is. Our program is actually designed to intervene early and do everything that we can so that they aren't in the special ed services and that we can get them back into the general classroom at grade level. And our last one, or next last one, is if anyone has any questions, whether you are a parent, whether you're a board member, community member, we are always available. And if there's anything that you have questions on later that we didn't cover or wasn't clear about, feel free to reach out to us. We're available.
There are packets in the back of the handouts of the presentation we just did, and then there's our website on there too. So the Blue Ridge Title I website's at the bottom.
Thank you.
Yes,
Very well put
yes.
together.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We'll move on to communications. You saw the FOIA request information, the committee reports.
Annual.
Okay with you, Francie? All right.
Okay.
All right, we're moving on to administrative reports.
To highlight a couple questions from parents recently about Shield, Illinois. We are still in process. We have about 700 people that are signed up to be Shield tested here on campus. That's larger than our overall student population, so that represents a great majority of our staff as well. At Snyder, there will be just over 250 people, intermediate, junior high, 219 people at the high school, about 225 people. So where we are right now is our list has been accepted, and we are waiting for what they call our third-party vendor to come and do site visits and decide exactly what day of the week they're going to come in and how much time it's going to take to get over 200 people through the screening process. So we're anxiously awaiting, as everybody else is, to get that. Strategic planning, you mentioned, Mr. Schneeman. 8 people who were. Sorry, Dave, am I doing something wrong? The man behind the bookshelves. So for strategic planning, we met last Saturday and we had 28 people. Worked on 5 different areas: facilities, finance, community and district relations, student achievement and curriculum, and programs and services. And the way everything was coordinated, I thought it was to give their opinion on Post-it notes about doing well in each of the 5 areas and what we could improve upon. And being able to do that while you're still sitting at your own table without putting your name on your Post-it note allowed everybody to really share exactly what they felt, I hope. And then those went up on sticky notes around the wall, and then we divvied up into groups, and we were able to, as a group, summarize what we saw on the sticky notes. So that information went home with Patrick Allen for him to put together in a nice fashion, and then that'll come back to us. The administrative team will work together on that. I hope to bring back at least our beginning stages to you next month, November's board meeting, to tell you how we are progressing through there. So that is my report. Well, hold on just a minute. So included in your packet for the board is my evaluation instrument, so you can see my goals there, and you guys can discuss next month how you would like to do that evaluation process this year. I do also have the quarterly financial report to share with you. If you have that in front of you, there were some at the back table. What you want to look at is column F. It's highlighted in yellow. Those are our actual revenues to date, and so this was reported as of the end of September. So what I do is I look at column G to see what percentage of revenues that we've received to date. We should be around 25%. Some of the things that I've noted with our revenue to date is that in Fund 20, you'll notice that our received revenues is a little bit lower than expected. That's because we have a lot of grant money, ESSER money, that is included in the revenue amount for Fund 20. and O&M, but the grant funding works in a way where you have to spend the money first before you get reimbursed, so you're not going to see that reimbursement coming in like you would tax revenue. Fund 60, that is a little bit low, also due to the school facility tax rate being a little bit low right now. Fund 90 looks also a little bit low, but that budget includes, that's health, life, safety, and that includes grant money as well. We anticipate receiving up to $50,000 for our school maintenance grant. But again, we have to spend before we can receive, so that's why it's a little bit less than the traditional percentage that we would see a quarter of the way through the school year. I'm also looking at the expenditure column, which is column I, also highlighted in yellow, and then I look at the next column, column J, to see where our expenditures are either higher than expected at 25% or lower. Some of the things that I noted, sometimes we have a large expense at the beginning of the year, so our expenditures might look higher, such as in Fund 40 for transportation. We paid our bus lease already, so that's why our expenditure percentage is a little bit higher there. In Fund 20, you'll see our percentage of expenditures is 33%. We've had some unexpected HVAC work at the high school. Surprise, so that's made our expenditures go up in that area. Fund 80, which is our tort, we've already paid our annual fleet insurance and workers' comp insurance. That's why that percentage is a little bit higher than you would think at this time of year. Fund 30, bond and interest, we haven't had any expenses. That's because our payment hasn't been due yet. And in Fund 60, our site and construction fund, that percentage right now is at 7%. The payments for the office building at the transportation department are just starting to come through, so they wouldn't have been captured in the September 30th report. Any other questions on the quarterly financial report?
No, appreciate the highlighting in yellow, the important things.
No problem. And at this time, we wanted to see Mr. Schneemann if he wanted to invite Mr. Kramer to do some speaking before he has to leave.
Yes, sorry. Mike, please.
Okay, so I believe you guys all have a copy of the report that I provided. As requested, I put together a list of some of the projects that are facing the IT department at this time. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's a pretty good selection of the items that we have on our docket at this time. I provided along with that a estimate of both technician hours and engineer hours that would be required to complete those projects. Those are pretty accurate as far as time is concerned. The dollar figures that you see listed on the back side of the report indicate what it would cost to purchase that time from an outside source, a third party. Typically, in the past, that's been Hart Technologies, is who we have used to do IT work of that type. So there's an indication of what those costs would be for them to do the work versus having an in-house technician that would be available to do the work as well. Down towards the bottom of the report, there's a bunch of confusing numbers and things that don't make a lot of sense, but it was more notes for me to talk to you about them. So basically what you see at the bottom, as indicated in the first report that I provided to you, there were two larger projects facing us that can add some cost savings to the district, one of which was the elimination of an organization that we use to handle all of our networking equipment, and that's Cisco Meraki. They have a licensing model that is quite expensive. You can see the annual cost is listed there on the sheet. By replacing their equipment and eliminating the use of their equipment in the building, we can eliminate that licensing cost completely from our budget, as well as a significant savings in replacement equipment. So as we need to replace equipment, for instance, we just replaced wireless access points at the high school. We will eventually have to do that same procedure at both the junior high and the elementary school. You can see some cost figures there of what the savings in using another branded equipment versus the Meraki equipment would save the district. One of the other projects that's also listed on there as well is a change in the phone system. Our phone system that we have in place is roughly, it was designed and brand new about 20 years ago, so it's getting a little long in the tooth. The software that's actually drives that system, the database software, is end of life as of this year, meaning that the manufacturer will no longer do updates for that software. So they're kind of forcing us at this point to make some kind of a change soon. It's not that the thing's not going to explode and stop working tomorrow, but if we do have issues with it, it's going to become much more difficult to work on it and do anything with it. So we do need to start looking at making a change. So the information is provided there, what I would recommend as far as the phone system is concerned, and what the cost savings by making that change would be. And the reason I included both of those projects on there is those projects would be very difficult to do by myself. Even with summer tech staff, the change of Meraki hardware, because it is so integrated at this point in the district, everything computer related in the district runs off of that equipment. So to make those changes would be a very large task for one person. We would need additional staffing to be able to handle not just the physical change in the equipment, but also all of the programming and everything else that goes along with it. So does that better explain what some of the information is there?
For you, when you had the breakdowns between technician, engineers, the proposed individual that would be hired, be qualified in both those levels of expertise?
I'm not following what you're
Well,
asking.
you have technician level work and engineer level work.
Right. So, anytime that we are working on IT work, there's physical labor that's typically involved with moving things around, and then there's low-level technical things like plugging things in and stuff like that. That's typically what we call technician level work. Engineer level work is usually things that require programming, somebody that's more knowledgeable, somebody with more experience to be able to not only design design the installation of the hardware or design the how the project is supposed to go, but also to actually physically program the equipment to operate properly. And that's where the engineer level work would come from.
Okay. And would this extra position help cut back some of the summer help needed, or is that always going to be a need?
I would anticipate that we may still at times need one person for summer help, but no longer would we need two, at least for the time being. I mean, I can't say that would never happen, but it would certainly eliminate the need for two technicians like we've had the last couple of years.
Does anyone else have any questions for David?
I thought of a couple more. Do you know how long we've had the Meraki equipment in the district?
To my knowledge, it's been here for 6 years.
Okay. Okay. And like with a phone system switch, is that something that could be done during the school year, or would that have to wait until summertime?
It could be done during the school year during a break. With the right people in place, certainly we could do it over a spring break or Christmas break, or over the summer. It's not something that we would be able to do, during the court. Well, I suppose there would be a way to do it, but it would be kind of messy, and I don't know that would be for safety purposes. I don't know that that'd be a really good idea.
What about switches and access points? That could probably be done while kids are in school.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Most of the I would say most of the projects that are in that list are things that can be done at any time with the right people in place. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, and that's kind of why I'm here, is because during the process of a normal day, I mean, we get calls for service from, you know, teachers and staff all over the district for things that need to be taken care of, logins that need to be changed, things like that. Having an additional staff member here to take on those pieces is what allows us to be able to complete projects during the course of a school day rather than spending the day, you know, working on, you know, other menial tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You want my,
All right. So the person that we would be looking to hire, they would be replacing us calling out to Hart for a technician or an engineer?
Typically, I take on the engineer role. That's what I do. That's what I'm here for, and also the technician role at this time. Yeah. So there's certain things that we've called Hart in the past for that we've required additional assistance because I don't have the time to do it. For instance, we had some cabling work that was done out at the football field for some streaming services. That work certainly could have been taken care of by an in-house technician if we had somebody available to be able to do it. And that's why I listed those projects the way that I did, because ideally if we have the technician here to be able to do that work, there's no reason for us to hire it out. And I feel like doing the work in-house is a much better situation for us anyway, because then we're familiar with what the issues and problems are with the installation. So many things in troubleshooting technological problems is having an appreciation and a familiarity with the building, the environmental processes, other things that are going on in the building, not just, you know, I know about this hardware. If we know where the cables are run and how they're run, a lot of times it makes it a lot easier for us to troubleshoot those things down the road.
any further questions?
And Dave is going to have to step out. That's why we're doing this piece now. So if you can think of anything else before we get to action items, now would be the time.
I just have one question. So this allows you to essentially save all that money by having an engineer and a technician on site, as well as put out all the spot fires that are going to pop up that are routine but not routine.
Yeah, absolutely. At this time, I basically spend my time putting out those fires. By having a technician on staff that can work on those fires, as you put it, that frees up my time to do the engineering work. And that's usually the preliminary step in making this stuff go. So if we have a project, and you can pick almost anyone in there, there requires some planning and documentation that takes place ahead of time. That work has to be done by somebody that understands the engineering part of it. Once that's done, then we know where to plug the cables in and, you know, what else needs to be done. That can be passed on to the technician. So yeah, at that point, it frees my time up to be able to do the planning part, and then I can pass that stuff off to him or her while they're working on you know, other things in between, you know, hooking up printers or fixing keyboards or whatever else. They can be working on other projects.
All right. Think everybody okay? Again, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So that we can move on that action later on, the old business. Okay, Ryan, you finally get to come up to the point.
All right, I'm just going to highlight a few things. As you saw from my report, Growing Together we hosted last week. It was an awesome event. It was our second event of the year. We were able to overcome the weather, I should say. So we were able to go outside for that night. For those events, we always host a family food, a family dinner. And then we go outside. This particular situation, we went outside and just had a fun night on the playground where families got to interact, peers got to interact, opportunity for parents and kiddos to play, as well as for adults to interact with other families, and so to get to know one another. Students also receive a free book during those nights, so on our way to promote literacy. In service, I wanted to thank Ms. Trimble. She connected our building in the district with some great PD on the 8th. It was a virtual institute. We got to hear some great professionals speaking on a variety of best practices in education. So that was a fun event a couple of weeks ago. And then Night Walk. Our PIE has done another amazing job with the Night Walk. Unfortunately, the weather did not really cooperate. We had to move it inside. But Ms. Mitchell in the drum line, Ms. Meisner and FFA, just so thankful. Ms. Meisner's FFA group did all the games and activities for us, set them up at no cost. I mean, it was an amazing showing from them. Once again, it's a great program that we have here at the high school. And overall, the students at Schneider raised over $9,000, by far the biggest PIE night walk that we've had since I've been here. So, any questions for me?
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, Katie.
I have a few things I wanted to go over tonight. The first thing I wanted to talk about was behavior and discipline from the graph that I included to show the last couple of years and the vast difference. And so one of the reasons for the difference comes from the work we did with Abby Lyons that started back in March of 2020, sort of during, maybe it was March, April, when the shutdown was happening, and our staff was doing some professional development with her. And we had talked about our PBIS program quite a lot. And then my PBIS committee and we did a lot of professional development this previous summer. So one of the things that we changed was our thinking. In previous years, we would not have, we didn't start writing referrals right away. We gave the kids a couple weeks, and then we would start writing referrals. And we learned that actually we needed to flip that. We needed to write referrals frequently and often in the beginning to gather that data and to try to pinpoint areas of concern or students of concern and put those interventions into place. So that's why you'll see a vast difference. So the referrals serve as the documentation, and then we're able to sit down as a committee, pull that data, and do some interventions. Some of the things we've done so far this year are we've put students on check-in, check-out. That's where they meet with a trusted adult, maybe at the beginning of their day and at the end of their day, to talk about things, maybe problem solve, think about how they could do things differently. We've done some schedule changes at the junior high for certain students. One student in particular was struggling with that transition from recess and lunch right into a core class, and so we changed that schedule so that student would go into PE instead of a core class, and that's been going much better. We've done parent meetings with the junior high, where all of the staff has sat down with a parent and a student, and then we've reviewed expectations for classes and grades that we saw a spike in referrals. For example, we noticed right away in library skills, we had a grade level that had a little bit of a spike, and so before the next time of library skills, they only have that once a week, the classroom teachers reviewed expectations and talked about things. They talked with the library skills teacher, which is our district librarian, Mrs. Allen, to make sure everyone was on the same page. And so just to smooth that over, and that went very well. So those are some of the things we're doing. We also changed our quarterly rewards to focus on the positive. And so instead of being a little bit more focused on the negative, now we focus on if students earn on each side of the building 25 what we call certificates of valor, which are positive office referrals, and our students actually had 53, so we did a building-wide celebration last Friday, and everyone got to participate, and that was a lot of fun. We did s'mores and cider and hot dogs at the end of the day, so it was great. Also, we are just starting our second annual readathon, and a huge thank you to Carrie Painter for all of her time and effort in organizing that for us. It is a really fun event, and it gets the kids reading, and it gets the staff reading too, to an extent, which is fun. And actually, proceeds from that are going to benefit our PBIS program. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about our AIMSweb Plus data that I included. I looked at by cohort, so you'll see, what the 8th graders did last year versus where they were this year, this time of year. And ultimately, those tiers, what you want to see is that 80, 15, and 5. And 6th and 7th grade is pretty close to that. Our other 3 grade levels have a little bit of work to do. And a huge shout out to Kelly Soliday, our intervention teacher, who you saw the presentation earlier. She does a phenomenal job with our kids, and she does a great job of breaking down what they need and really talking about how to get them that service and those skills. And she helped me. One of the things we did was we overhauled our 4 through 6 intervention again this year. Due to some conversations with our ROE coach, Raquel Eschelman, we departmentalized our intervention, which we'd never done before. And it was one of those aha moments. We departmentalize everything else. Why don't we departmentalize intervention as well? And that's been a great change, and we're hoping to see a lot of good data come out of that change. So, do you have any questions for me? Correct. Just like a stoplight. Green means go, red means stop. So, yes, and then percentages. In the parentheses, it's the percentages. Yes. Yes. So yes, exactly. So that tier 1, the green, you want to see at 80% of our students for each grade level. And then the yellow, the tier 2, you would want to see at 15%. And then the red, we want to see at 5%. Right, at most. That's sort of the ideal tier, I guess. Yeah, Chelsea? We are. That is something that we have not had as much of a focus on with some of our new staff. We have not had that training into some of those new staff members, but our staff members who have done that training in the past still use that language very frequently with our students. Sure. Well, I think anything that, just anything that maybe you would want to call home to a parent about, such as, everything from something more severe, such as maybe pushing a peer, okay, something like that, to, I don't know that there's a lowest level. That's a good question. It can be anything from, I don't have the form in front of me, but some of those in that first line are,
disruption of a class.
Disrupting class in some way, shape, or form. We had some 5th graders who threw some paper at each other one day when a sub was in the room, right? So they all got a referral for that. And then it can lead to, we can also put on there maybe a consequence such as calling a parent. It can be a lunch detention or something like that, but it can also just be the conference with the student, the contact with the parent, making sure they understand that throwing paper with the sub is not appropriate. So, absolutely. Yes, yeah. Sure. Sure, and so what we have done with that is we have, through the PBIS program, we revamped our Be Safe, Be Ready, Be Respectful, which are the 3 expectations of our PBIS program, and that is throughout the building. And there are posters in every classroom, and then the teachers have some leeway as far as what does it mean to be safe in my classroom, and they have that conversation with students. Such as, for example, the science classroom may have things that look a little different just based on the class and the things that they do in there. PE might be a little bit different, but those are the 3 overall, and we have some norms that go along with that as well. And then we have common posters posted in the hallways, the bathrooms, the lunchroom, things like that that are already pre-printed with those expectations on there. Yeah.
Chelsea.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that either. I'm sorry.
Mike.
I'm sorry. I could have cued you if I would have paid attention.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Katie.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry. Okay.
Brian? High school principal.
All right, let's see. So quick follow-up on, because the night walk from Snyder got moved indoors, that exposed it let the kids coming in see that we had this STEM club spooktacular going on here in the building, and they got a lot more traffic down in the science classrooms here to be a part of that. So that was a fortuitous turn of events. So we're going to try to figure out how to coordinate those in the future, so those always help each other out. It was really cool to see. Really, the only other thing I want to touch on here is that wasn't in my report. We just wrapped up homecoming week, and I just have to say a big shout out to our student council and then Mary Diener and Jill Hardesty, because we started out this school year and realized that we didn't have a student council sponsor because she had left us right before school started, and also there hadn't been a whole lot of planning done for homecoming because as last year wound down, nobody really knew what anything was going to look like. So they had to put all that together kind of at the spur of the moment, and also dealing with what kind of mitigations do we have to put in place based on IDPH and all this other stuff. So it was not an easy road, and they did a really great job. Not saying they always agreed on things, because there was a lot of headbutting along the way, but I think everybody in the end realized that it was a really great experience, and the kids were really appreciative of it. If you guys didn't get to see the parade, I really loved the parade. I know it was weird that it was a Wednesday night, but just like everything that was in it, it was just perfect, you know, for that event. The floats were amazing. I've never judged floats before, so I had no clue what I was doing. I was just given a score sheet and said, here, rate these floats. I'm like, they're all great. What am I supposed to say? But they were, man, the kids did such a great job on those. And then, you know, we had to modify on the fly on Friday afternoon because we were supposed to have a pep assembly and games out at the football field. Well, it had been raining like for 73 straight days, and it was all muddy and gross, and it was really damp that day. So we, you know, came indoors and did all the games indoors and modified powder puff football. And oh my goodness, those girls are so competitive. It was crazy. I almost had to break up fights with some of them where they were fighting over the ball. It was very entertaining. The seniors won the Spirit Stick. They wanted to make sure you knew that. And yeah, and then the dance was a high school dance, which went off, you know, spectacularly, I guess. So,
Can you tell them what the student council said to Mrs. Diener and Mrs. Hardesty afterwards?
Yeah. So, yeah, Tuesday they had a meeting in here with the officers, and Ms. Hardesty had been gone the week before because her husband was in the hospital, and she was out of town and unavailable the whole week. So Mary and I and Nancy and everybody stepped up to you know, make it happen. Mary was under a lot of stress that week, and we felt like almost nothing was going well. And after the dance, Mary and I left after that just feeling like, oh man, that just didn't feel like it was a good experience, and we just had not a good feeling about stuff. And then they were here at the meeting on Tuesday, and get to the end of the meeting, and Jill says to the student council kids, so how was homecoming? How was the dance? And Mary's like, oh, you didn't have to bring that up. You didn't have to bring that up. And she said to a person, every single kid there said it was the best homecoming that they'd ever had. So it just really, it was bumpy, it was tough, but in the end, I think the kids really appreciated it. So,
Great.
Yep. And is there, I'm new to this, you know, so my board report, I'm trying to kind of go off of past stuff. Is there anything else you'd like me to include in my board report or leave out of the board report? Chelsea, is there anything else I should put into the board report?
Compliment, because I really love data. No, I mean, just you have it from the last month, it looks like, for the detentions and whatnot. So just something to give us perspective on what you're reporting on. I know, and like it's not going to be easy to like give us data compared to last year, because last year was a kerfluffle or something.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, no.
Yeah, so I'll try.
And perhaps like grades, you know, as we start getting more into it, just like letting us know how students are doing grade-wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Good.
I can do that. Thank you. Yep.
Well, the things that stand out, like in-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions, so those are really like 0 on out-of-school suspensions. So that's very, you know, testimonial of where we've come for.
Yeah, that'll probably change for
Oh,
next
okay.
month because I've had a
Sorry.
couple here the past couple days, but off to a good start anyway.
Well, anyway,
Spoke
Yeah.
too soon. Spoke too soon.
okay, go back to your seat.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our curriculum. I don't see Paige here this evening, so you have that report. Do I have the wrong one?
Hello,
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
right here.
I don't see Paige because she's standing right in front of me.
It's okay. Next time I want to go first. I don't want to follow the inspirational speaker here about homecoming and how it was the best ever, because my stuff's not nearly as exciting. But as you can see from my report, it was another busy month. Bigger projects that I'm working on right now will be planning Curriculum Day for January 3rd, which, by the way, will be 3 days after my daughter gets married. And we have a Teacher Institute Day in February I'll be planning. And I've also been working on our CPDU professional development credits that teachers get every spring. Well, before COVID, every spring there's an audit where they come to make sure that we're filling out all of those reports correctly. And as of today, since July 1, I think we've offered over 25 professional development opportunities for our teachers so far. So for each one of those that we do, we have to fill out a report. So I've been working on those as well. Do you have any questions? See, I told you it wasn't as exciting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right, we have technology. Do we have anything further to share on that, I don't think? All right. Operations, O&M, transportation, food services, you've had those reports in your packet. You had a chance to read those. So we're moving on to approval of consent items, and I need a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda items listed on attachment A as presented. Chelsea and Jason, second. Yes, thank you. Moving to old business. I was going into the technology staffing report. I think that's on page 150
Yes.
in your agenda.
So you had also asked if I would look at a cost for that. I use $16 an hour for a starting pay, 7.5 hours a day, 220 days, which would give us summertime for that tech person. Benefits would be 6.8% on top of that. Life insurance would be about $140 on top of that. Health insurance would be over $9,000. HSA contribution would be $2,500 for a grand total of just over $40,000.
That'd be an entry level, right?
Absolutely entry level,
And is that a yearly contract?
yes. So if we were to move forward with this, a job description would have to be written and approved by you. The position would have to be approved, and then we would be posting for hiring. So there's a lot of decisions that go along with that. I don't know if there's any other pieces that you would like to see. I don't know what you think about, I know that we've talked about the hiring of 2 summer helps. You know, that would at least eliminate 1 summer help. Could the $40,000 really pay off for some of the projects that could be done? There's going to be a learning curve, right? So we're not going to see immediate financially huge benefits right away. But I know that nothing is getting smaller in the area of technology, that's for sure. It's only getting bigger, and it's amazing all the, everybody wants their needs to be taken care of right away, and everybody comes to Dave. Everybody thinks he's their person that will get it done right away, and by doing that, then a lot of the bigger projects are left undone. So when you look at the report that he gave, and he talked about the phone system replacement, You know, right now we're paying about $23,000 a year for our very antiquated phone system. The new system would come in at under half of that, but it's going to take, we'd have to purchase equipment for about $4,600. We'd have some install time and cost. So the first year, it might be similar to what it is right now, but then the savings could happen in the next year. When you talk about the switches and the access points, the APs, we would still have to pay that $23,000 annual Meraki licensing fee until all Meraki equipment was out of the district. So it's not just, and there's about 18, this price was based on about 18 switches. Dave says you don't get advance notice when a switch is getting ready to go. When it decides to be done, it's done, and it needs to be replaced immediately. So I guess, you know, one decision we need to make is, do we want to start moving towards the ubiquity items? The cost is much less, but knowing that we're still going to be paying the Meraki licensing fees, it doesn't necessarily make sense to me to yank all the functioning Meraki switches and APs out of the district. But maybe that's something that we do as we need to replace them. Maybe when we get halfway there, then we decide, yep, let's go ahead and do the rest. So there's a lot of moving parts there.
Where does the position fall? Is it a union position or a non-union position also?
I think that would be a union position. Is there any other research that you would like me to do?
Well, we asked for kind of a punch list, he gave more detail of that. We also asked for you for dollars, which you presented to us, so.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just something we need to decide if that's something that we feel we want to pursue as far as getting that extra position. I know some of you shared positive on at the last meeting, and I don't know if that's changed or not. I don't know how you feel as far as consensus, if we want to move forward with this.
Feel that the tech part of this is never going to get smaller, just like the superintendent was saying. This is only going to get more, and if this allows us to get ahead of the curve a little bit, it may actually pay off a bit more than what the numbers Dave was showing in the packet.
And I think a district our size, some people probably want to question why we would need that extra person. We had discussed around some other larger districts around our area.
The report that he showed you originally, which would have been in September, showed that other districts have the same or less than we do, but they hire everything out. So do you want to pay somebody outside of the district to come in and do the work, and you're going to pay higher prices? Obviously, you see the tech and the engineer pricing per hour. So do we want to pay somebody else, or do we want to have that be our employee? I think what Dave said about, you know, when you do the install yourself, you know the ins and outs of the project that you've done. You don't have to come and get introduced to the project while you're trying to find the way to repair. So I definitely see benefit to it, but it is a big decision.
Any further discussions or questions about this? Get back to my, missed it. Otherwise, we'll see if it's going to go through the motion or not. I need a motion and a second to approve the request for additional staffing for the Technology Department for Blue Ridge Community Unit School District 18 as presented. Okay, roll call. Yes. All right. A new business. To approve an ISB conference delegate for the joint annual conference coming up the 21st, 18th, was it the 19th through the 21st of November?
Sounds correct. So originally when we had reconfigured the board, Chelsea was chosen for that position, so this should be just a formality to officially give. They thank you.
All right, so I so move. I need a second to approve. Who said that, Francie? Chelsea Laffelman as the 2021 III delegate for Blue Ridge School District as presented.
Look at you.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? She was drinking, she couldn't. All right, so we're now moving to the approve the health insurance bid.
Okay. And by the way, you do have your resolution packet that just arrived in the mail. Next, health insurance bid. You heard Mr. Duke present information. I want to give you a little bit more information about the cost of Iermp. So Iermp is a self-funded health alliance plan that we've been with for the last number of years. The cost per pay for employee per month would be per pay would be $13.60. Employee and spouse would be $454.60. Employee and child or children $427.10, and the family cost would be $518. The increase per month I think is important to look at. So the employee has not been paying anything additionally this current year. Starting in 2022, the employee would have an increase per month of $27.20. Employee and spouse would be $135.20 for a monthly increase. Employee plus child or children $129.20 per month increase, and the family increase would be $151.20. And so what I would like to do, health insurance bidding time is never a fun thing to do because you're never going to please everybody. Just like most things in life, you're not going to please everybody. There's very different perspectives. I fully understand that the 5 members from the Federation go out to their buildings and get the majority response from their people and come back and vote accordingly. I feel like on the administrative side, perhaps we're looking at the consideration for the people who are going to suffer the most. It would be very difficult to go to an employee and say you're going to have an increase of over $600 if you take family insurance starting in January. That would actually cause at least one of our employees to have to pay us to work here to have that family insurance. So this is not a new struggle. I think it's exasperated this year because it's been the same struggle for the last number of years, predating my time in the superintendency. What I have proposed to the 10-person insurance committee is that we begin our work immediately for the 2023 renewal. I have met with Travis Bushu today, who is our neutral party, who does all of our human relations work, and he has relayed to us that the health of our membership right now, we are not a very healthy group to insure, and so he believes that it's his opinion, when asked, is that we financially need to stay where we are. When we get healthier, we might have an option to be able to move to Blue Cross, which is the desperate desire of the majority of the Federation. His neutral opinion says that if we would move, as unhealthy as we are, we could get a good first-year rate in Blue Cross Blue Shield and then have a very significant rate increase for the next year. His numbers were 40%. Now, does anybody know that for sure? No, it's not known for sure, but he's a neutral party. He's not a salesperson coming to us. So there's just a lot of things that I think we could still learn about health insurance. Health insurance isn't going to be static, though. It's going to continue to change. And so I think we need to continue to watch. I think we need to make sure that we all have correct information. Sometimes we can get something set in our head about health insurance, what's worked, what didn't work for us 5 years ago, and we tend to think that that's gospel, and it still happens. I want to make sure we have the correct information, and that we, like I said, I don't think it's going to be an easier decision necessarily, but I want us to all be as informed as possible. So So the decision, as Mr. Duke had said, was 5-5 on the vote. And so then the recommendation comes to the board to stay where we are if we do have a tie, which would mean renewing with Iermp. And then we'll continue to do the work to try to see what we can do for, if not 2023, you know, it might take us a couple of years to get as healthy as we need to be to really get to the place where we can consider another health insurance carrier.
Now, I remember when we first got a part of that Iermp that you had to commit to 3 years or something. There was a committal time period where you cannot ask to get out of that, but now we're at the stage where
We're past
every
that.
year we can do that.
Yeah, there's timelines and things that you have to follow. But yes, you can. But, and also, if we would get out, there is no guarantee that they would take us back. They do not have to do that.
Hillary, so those things that make us unhealthy, are they things that our population can change, or are they things that you can't really control, like cancer or?
There are some of our large things you cannot control. Iermp, and now this is getting to a salesperson comment, so I want to clarify that now I'm speaking from information from a salesperson. So a salesperson has said we do have some very major claims over $50,000 that are sitting in our membership. They would like to try to find a different way to insure them so it doesn't make a hit against us. They're going to try to work with us on that, but there are other things that we can do. We have learned over the last year or so, some of us have started to take our, like I have to go, because you have told me I have to get a physical every year. When I go do that, and I go to a primary care, Carl, Doctor, and Muhammad, it's easiest if they give me my lab orders and I just go down the hallway and do my labs there. But we are finding out through the Strive for 5 program, in other words, an educational program from Iermp. If you ask instead for your provider to give you a script and you go to LabQuest or LabCore, then you can save sometimes thousands of dollars. And so when you consider a self-funded plan being your own pocketbook, you start to look at those services that you're getting a little bit differently. And so we are starting to do some of those things, but we can definitely do more of those smarter consumer pieces so we can be a healthier group.
What I'm hearing is that we can make smarter choices within the system, but it's not something that is like fixable, like with more exercise and eating healthier.
That's never going to be a bad thing. Yeah.
I promote it a lot,
Yeah.
but
And
what
some
I'm
people
hearing is that it's just we didn't work within the system as well as we could have, and that kind of has bit us in the behind.
Yeah, and we've had some major claims, which maybe, I mean, you can't get away from some of those. We just have had some bad years, and we support our people and we move on. But there are things that we can. Health insurance, I don't remember it being you have to know so much about it. Before it was just, you sign up for the plan and you move on. And now there's so many different things and everybody's competing for your business that there's a lot of hidden things that you don't get to know about plans, some things that you do get to know, and definitely learning how to shop for your own pricing. Like even the COVID test, we have probably about 35 people in the district that are getting weekly COVID tests. And so you might be able to find 5 different places that you don't have to pay out of pocket, but your insurance carrier is still paying for all that. So they're covering those costs. So that's why we went back to the nurse navigator and said, okay, give us the list of places that are going to either charge you our plan 0, even behind the scenes, or the least amount behind the scenes. And then employees have a choice. And hopefully if they see it's their own pocketbook, then they will start trying to make those choices when the opportunity comes.
That's just not the cost from the employee here themselves, but it's their families. It could be their child or anything that could count towards that.
Yeah.
So, and we know that bad things happen no matter how healthy you are.
So
I was it seemed like it was things we just couldn't control.
Right.
So does the collective bargaining agreement cover what happens in a tie?
Yes.
Agreed upon the one that we have in place currently.
Correct.
And it states, everybody agreed upon, that if it's a tie, we stay with what we have, correct?
That's what the CBA says.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question. How many employees do we have that actually do the family plan?
I believe the number was 13 or 14 that we have. We have some that are dual employees. In other words, 2 spouses that are on the plan, and we have, I believe, 4 people who are, only one employee takes for the family. And at least 2 of them are non-certified
That person
people.
would be employee plus children, and the other would be employee only then, right? So they really would be family. Is that correct?
They could take it that way. They have been on a family plan, but they could
Okay.
split up. But somebody who, like we have a PSRP who is taking a family plan, and she's the only employee in her family in the district, and that's the employee that would have to pay us to work here.
I know we don't typically do this, but Rob, did you talk to those 14 employees, or did you talk to the PSRP that's going to owe us the money? I mean, I wish that person was here tonight.
You want to do the microphone?
Sorry, I mean, Dave's not here, but he would yell at all of us. So.
Okay, so I have two PSRPs in my building that do take the family plan, and one of the PSRPs has been very vocal for the last several years that the reason that she works is to have insurance for her family. Her spouse has a medical condition that she has repeatedly said every year that she would pay to work here to get good insurance, which she considers Blue Cross Blue Shield, to cover her husband's medical issues that they've had problems with Health Alliance and the prescription company, so in conjunction of both of those. So she said emphatically, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I don't care if I pay, I want Blue Cross Blue Shield because they treat her husband's condition better. I do not know that. The other one is a PSRP who she has family, and she is the one person that voted in my building to stay with Health Alliance because she said that that's way too much money for her to pay for health coverage for her spouse and her one child. And she expressed to me she wished that there was a way that the family didn't have to be for one child and a spouse and her. There's just 3 of them, and that she has said that repeatedly also. And I know that's not neither here or there with because I think lots of insurance companies are that way.
Yeah.
But that
Ours is that way at work. So
yes.
it just, if you
is
have
the way
10
it
kids
is.
or you have 1, it's like.
So of the 2 PSRPs in my building, I spoke to everyone in my building personally one-on-one, and because I felt like people would be more likely to answer what was best for them. And I told people to vote the way that's best for you, that you feel more comfortable with. And so the 2 people that I spoke to, one of them voted one way and one of them voted the other. And on the family, there's 13 of us in the district, 8 of us are a couple. So there's 5. 8 of us are a couple with another person in this district, so there are 5 who do not have a spouse that work for this district.
So they would be the most impacted at the end of the
Yes.
day. My other question is, did you share with your membership that if we go to Blue Cross Blue Shield, that there is that chance of a very large increase next year, and we may not be, like, there may not be another option, like, they may be stuck with that?
I shared all of those concerns with them. But yeah, every year.
The unknown is very, yeah, it's all.
And also it could be that way, well, with the Iermp, we are protected a little bit with the tiers, we can only go 1 each
Right.
way, so that is.
Helps a little.
It helps a little, but when I have said that with Blue Cross Blue Shield, then the members would say, but it's a bigger pool to choose from, so, bigger pool, you know what I mean?
Right.
The percentage. That's what I
Okay.
know.
It's
Such
just-
a large jump. My fear is, right now, there's only 5 of you, right, that are using the family thing, but let's say in 6 months, that changes, right? Is your opinion going to be the same thing when instead of paying 27, now you are paying an extra 700? That's my fear, is I'm basically taking a house payment from somebody with an increase. And I know it's only 5 people, but morally I have a problem with, that sounds bad. I would rather I have to pay 27 than put that on somebody
Like I
who,
said, all those PSRPs, we got
I
lots
mean,
of
I don't know.
open.
It
Eli,
just-
come on down.
It's all, I'll be honest, most of the people that I've talked to have said that the biggest problem is they feel the coverage and the quality is a lot less with the IERMP.
I remember a lot of the conversation a year ago was about specific places like Barnes and Mayo and how we don't have access to those. But we've just had a member at Barnes, we're getting ready to have a member at Mayo. It does happen. That's why one of the things I want to do is make sure that we all know exactly what the concerns are, why we're saying we want to go one way or the other. Make sure that's accurate information, because sometimes maybe in the past it was said we don't have a free pass to Barnes, but we've already proven that we can get to Barnes with IERMP. So
It was Mayo, the big concern like
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago.
and
it
now we're
was Mayo.
accessing Mayo too.
So what, that was really close. So my concern is we signed the agreement, the CBA, and now you guys are asking us to go against that, correct? We said if it comes down to a tie, we're going to continue with what we had.
That's the agreement.
Yes, and now you guys are asking us to
Yes.
break that agreement.
We're sharing the concerns.
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes. I just remember how contentious the negotiations were, and if we sign an agreement, what's the point of the agreement if you're going to ask us to break it? That's my concern.
I get that, but you have to switch, I mean, if you're gonna switch at some point ever, you're gonna have to talk about it. We have to have-
Preferably when we're negotiating then.
It just fell that way this year.
Yeah.
As a general question, does the contract have to be open in order to be able to do that also? Because it's already been bargained on? This is stuff I don't know.
And it's stuff that I've never dealt with either, but I would say that an MOU could be written. I think if there's an agreement on both sides, we have the ability to do that. I don't think, personally, I don't think that decision is a 2022 decision. I think there's more education that needs to happen. And obviously, it's going to be part of negotiations, but I think we need to be educated before we get to the negotiation process so we can figure out where to go, what our goal is collectively as a group. If we want to work to get healthy enough to have that option in front of us, because it's a real consideration, like Rusty said, that we could get in to Blue Cross, even if we decided to have a family take a big hit. If we did get in, then there's a real possibility from a neutral person at our HR company that says you could take a very huge hit the next year, and then there's a possibility that you can't get anywhere else. You know, he said your claims are going to follow you. You can't just run and hide from it and expect somebody's not going to know what's going on with your health history. So it's not an easy decision. I don't think it ever will be, but I think we have some work to do to be more informed.
Okay. And this is on the side too, but I didn't go in to look at the contract to see what those actual wording was on that or not, but how the committee was compromised of Federation, personnel, administration, and I thought we had a insurance committee. And I told Hillary in the past that there was representation from the board at these meetings as well, and I don't think that was happening this year.
Well,
Or were you
the way
communicating
it's
to?
worded is not clear, and clearly that's wording that I think we need to work on in the contract this time. Like, in my opinion, we need to have a board member on at that table. Like, I want to be and I say me, but I do mean that. Like, I've sat through a lot of these. I'm like, okay, like, I feel like I'm coming to the party a little late right now, and I'm like, I wish I would have, like, let's have this conversation. Let me think. Let me look at numbers. It's very hard right now because I am always going to be for that underdog. And when I voted, we have taken this exact same vote before. Like, this is not this is deja vu 100% for the board. I voted for that minority at that time because I did feel there were people standing here saying, I'm going to owe you money and it's a huge problem for me. And I did feel for them. Like, health insurance is a major deal in our world, and I feel for every person that struggles with it because coverage is so important. But at the same time, there's part of me that I sat at the last negotiation table, and this was a huge, huge part of it, of understanding and saying, okay, so do you really want to say that you're willing to take that minority and make that choice for them? And that's why I'm saying, have you spoke to those people? They, on my book, they're the people that are at the top of this decision because they're the most impacted. So that's my biggest question. Are they willing to make that change? Are they willing to have that hit on their paycheck? I would be a person that would say no. I mean, I'm just telling you this right now, and I say that because I'm not ever in that position, but to me, that kind of a hit on my paycheck would devastate my family, especially when my kids were young. It would have been a choice for us of pretty major options of health insurance, food, those kind of things. So this is a tough one. And that's why I'm like, I wish those 5 employees were here. I would love to hear their voices. The one, I know exactly who you're talking about. There's no doubt in my mind who you're talking about. She said those exact same words to me.
Well,
so I guess the other 4, I wish they were here. I wish they could stand here and just talk to us and share how this would be. And I totally get the unions part of this. It's hard to make a decision for 4 because it really is, you're down 4 people, 4 members over 100 the other way. But it's a rough thing, and it's scary to them. Well, then what if we come back to them next year and we say, well, you have that huge hit to cover your family, and now we're going to hit you with another 25%.
I think sorry.
Sorry, that's just, I mean, that's kind of where my thought is right now on all of this.
I think we also have to consider that with inflation, real wages have actually decreased, and that they are predicting that this inflationary period is not transitory. It's going to continue well into 2022. So if we're taking more from people's paychecks, they're going to have even less, especially as groceries are going up, gas is going up. So there's also that to consider as well. I don't know, and I don't know if that's something that people are thinking about, paying attention to the Fed and how they're forecasting all these not so good economic news.
All right. Anybody else have any questions, concerns? Before we move forward on this, it's definitely going to create conversation. Yes. Would you like to come share, please? So we can hear you.
So I am actually one of the 4 that it would affect. I'm the sole insurance provider for our family. My husband is self-employed as a farmer. So it is a huge chunk that would be coming out of my paycheck. And it would be something that realistically we could look at and decide if it would be better for me to actually resign my position and go through Marketplace to get our insurance, which we did for several years when I was a stay-at-home mom, because we might actually end up saving money by going through the Marketplace instead of having me have a job here, which is really hard to think of. So it would affect us immensely. Do you have any other questions?
No, that is not helpful.
I'm sorry, but I mean,
no, I really
and I'm not
like,
trying to say that and throw that out as
No,
a
everybody
threat,
has to look at this for their own family.
but I mean, that would be something that we would look at, and crunch numbers and see,
Yeah,
to
that's
be
real
honest
life.
with you. And that's real life.
yeah,
So,
yeah, real life
sorry to
problem.
make it worse for you.
No, our goal is not to offer health insurance that would encourage an employee to quit. I mean, that's, yeah, I'm like, that would be a hard thing for sure.
I feel like it's kind of awkward. Like, I feel like everyone knows I'm one of those people that take on the family insurance. I'm just like Colleen, my husband's a farmer, and we would be making a decision like that because almost $700 a month, that's our house payment. So I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. It's, like she said, it's not a threat. It's just, it's life that, we still have children at home. We have college we're paying for, just like everyone else. We all have bills. We all have stuff. But yeah. But so yes, it definitely would impact me the same as Colleen. So.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for all the input. We're going to go forward with this, put it towards a motion. And need a motion, a second, to approve the bid for the Health Alliance Insurance from Iermp for Blue Ridge Community Unit School District 18 as presented. That's correct, to stay within current.
Is there a way, like, do we have to vote on it tonight?
I think so. Yeah, because they have to open it up.
That's
in
true,
November.
yeah.
We have a week. I mean, they have to give employees notice.
So I know this is, for me, I'm torn on it, like morally, but I'm going to make the motion, and I'm making the motion due to the collective bargaining agreement. It's in the contract. I feel like that contract is written, it's honored, it needs to be honored, in my opinion. So that's something that if they want to change, they need to change it in the next negotiations. But I think we stay. I don't want to see somebody take a hit, a large chunk hit, so, or insurance.
I repeat, need a motion, a second, to approve the bid for Health Alliance Insurance from Iermp for Blue Ridge Community Unit School District 18 as presented.
Seconded? Well, he said he would make the motion,
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
and I'll second.
Rusty. Chelsea.
Yes.
I'm voting yes, only because Rusty said, because we're following the agreement. Let's start working on the wording. Like, let's not have this be the holdup when we do this in the spring, but like, let's figure out how it can be better for all. Like, it is not against the majority. I just want to say that right now. Like, I hear your 95%, but I also hear the 5. So let's find a way to do that. So that's why I'm a yes.
Yes. All right. Consideration and action upon the resolution authorizing the abatement of the working cash fund to the capital projects fund in the amount of $315,000.
Okay, so this is a transfer of funds from working cash to capital projects. When we did the second round of bond refinancing during the last school year, we simultaneously sold working cash bonds. So we have that money sitting inside of working cash, almost $700,000 for the purpose of building the transportation department office building. And so this is an installment going into, you cannot pay anything out of the working cash fund, so we are moving to the capital projects fund officially so we can make payments for that building project. We have transferred $90,000 last spring, and now the new bills are coming in, and so we're moving $315,000, which should just cover the expenses and the architectural fees. And hopefully we won't have to do any other abatement. We're trying not to have to go back and forth so many times.
Any questions? Need a motion and a second to approve the resolution authorizing the payment of the working cash fund to the capital project funds in the amount of $315,000 as presented. Jason. Carlos.
Yes.
Motion second to move from open session to closed session at 8:30 p.m. Chelsea and Francie?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.